Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. This is Rusty and Heather Bryant. We're excited to join you again today. This is like either very challenging or very stressful. I don't know what it is, but all she has to do is turn the volume down a little bit so you can hear us in the, but we're about to.
Gradually.
Here's the great thing. All of this is about to be fixed.
See, you're gonna miss me pushing the little button.
Yep, we've got other things coming down the pipe that are gonna really streamline a lot of this. Our video is gonna be much better, but we have to find time to learn how to do those different workflows. But it's coming. It's coming. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Like we have told you guys a million times, if you're not already following us on YouTube, you need to go. I think it's the Redeemed Marriage. So go to the Redeemed Marriage. It is. That's all. That's all it is. You can find us on YouTube. Go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because not only are we going to begin enhancing some of our video podcast, just because it's getting very popular there, but also we have some new videos that are going to show up.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little fun, and we're just going to see. We're just going to see how many people actually enjoy watching videos. And if you do, and a lot of that will depend on numbers, then we'll create more stuff. All right, so there's your challenge. So today, we cannot overlook, because in our world, when we are recording this on August the 23rd, some of you know what August the 23rd is to us because you follow us. In fact, before, and it wasn't fair because the person that said a listener, they're from another country.
Mm-hmm.
They sent us an email. You may not have even been awake yet.
Yeah.
So not fair.
Definitely
they were
not.
several hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
But sent an email acknowledging what today is, which I just think is super cool.
And I didn't even see you this morning
I
until
know.
church, because you got up at the butt crack of dawn to be at church because you were leading worship.
Yeah, I mean, totally kidding. But I just was saying that because I thought it was really cool that other people in the world know our story well enough to where they know that today
It's a hard day.
Could be potentially a hard day. So for those of you who don't know, because you may be a new listener, you may not be too familiar with our story, but 15 years ago on this day that we're recording was the day.
Well, in 2011.
Oh, what'd I say?
This day, on the day we're recording.
But I said 15 years ago.
I didn't hear that part.
I think I did.
If not, in
Pretty sure.
2011, on this day. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Because I think it's important to listeners to know how many years it has been when they hear our hearts.
I thought I said that, but I thought you were trying to let them know that it wasn't today. I don't think we would be doing this podcast today. We certainly would not be as calm.
Yeah, I just meant in 2011. It's been 15
2011,
years.
15 years. 15 years ago on this day, from this day, 15 years ago, that we were, that you confessed to being unfaithful. And so, yeah, it was obviously the darkest day. I mean, but probably the darkest day of our marriage, probably of our entire lives. And so, to have that roll around every year, there's certainly still some pain and memories and things like that happen. But what we've tried to do for the last couple of weeks is we've been trying to dig a little bit deeper into our story. So instead of just being kind of that, it'd be really easy today for us to just retell the story.
Sure.
And honestly, people out there would there's a lot of people that would appreciate that because they are either new and don't really know, but we've told our story lots and lots of times. And so we're going to weave it into what we're talking about today. But I think the thing that can give the most hope to people, no matter what their situation is, everybody kind of has those days that bring up hard memories and hard things. And we know that a lot of our listeners, they do listen to us because they have a similar story. And so there may be some brokenness, some infidelity, some confession that has happened along the way. And those days those dates come back up every single year. You're not going to avoid it. But for us, the date it carried a lot of weight for us early on. And to be real honest, it doesn't carry enormous weight for us anymore. So it's just today we kind of want to talk about what happens when a day that was the worst day on our calendar eventually loses its power over you. And so that's kind of the message that we want to get across. So I'm going to ask a few questions. We're just going to kind of talk through a few things that we wrote down about this day specifically and what it means and what it meant and what it now means to us. And I really hope that what you gain from this is if you have one of those days on your calendar, how do you stop it from holding you and holding so much power over you? And so, just to get us started, and while we were thinking about this day, just surface level, I guess, more than anything, but what do you remember? Do you remember much about that day, and what do you remember about that day?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I remember a lot about that day, just because I knew that the 2 lives I had been living for 3 months were coming to an end. And those, I often talk about them being railroad tracks, how I had this life and then I had the other life, and how those 2 I knew were fixing to crash is something that I'll never, ever forget. I had felt so in control for such a long time, especially those 3 months. And I knew that I was losing control and that somebody else was calling the shots. And so when I was caught and was told I needed to tell you and was given a time frame of that, I knew it had to be that night. And you weren't home, and you didn't come home until after the boys went to bed. And I think that was a blessing, because at that time we had a kindergartner, so 5 years old. He had just turned 5, and then a 9-year-old, and they were asleep. And I think that was such a blessing. And I just remember, my heart racing absolutely out of my chest, as I told you, and had to confess to that. And I literally had no idea what the next minutes would look like.
Honestly, I do remember that day, but all of my memories are obviously late in the evening. And I remember where I was, because that was somewhat important too, where I was before, because I'd been in a meeting. But then coming home, and I don't want to share too much of the details. If you want the details, buy the book. It's about to come out. Not about to, but it's really close. We finished the manuscript. And so you'll be able to hear a lot of the feelings and the emotions and things like that. You'll be able to read about that. But I remember, walking in the door, trying to show you something that I was excited about, and you didn't really pay attention, and I had no idea what was on your mind and on your heart. But, I just remember everything started when you said the words, "We need to talk." And, I followed you into the bedroom, and, it kind of started from there. But it was really late at night, and so I really remember, I think, more of the next few days. And so those early moments are a little bit of a blur. I remember the initial, comments and what you actually said, but then it just sort of blurred because I was in shock. I mean, literally in shock. And so I can get bits and pieces back in my memory. But it was really over the next 3 days that a lot of stuff, started to be revealed, and, I remember that stuff more. But it was obviously a day that was kind of marked on our calendar. Not that we physically marked August the 23rd, but do you remember those early years, especially the first year, maybe even the second year, maybe into the third and fourth year? Do you remember how did we dread it? Did we anticipate it? What do you actually remember about those early anniversaries.
Yeah. I mean, I do. I do think that we were dreading, especially the first one. It was just, here it comes. It's just such a memory. I mean, we celebrate birthdays and we celebrate anniversaries and we celebrate special things like this time a year ago or 10 years ago. And so it sounded weird to call it an anniversary because it's not a celebration, but it's a marked day for sure. And I also think that because I know that the 23rd for you is the biggest date, but then for me, the 26th, when I confessed everything, like on the 26th, there was no more secrets. And so for me, that's the day that just stripped me completely bare. And so I remember the 23rd, but there was still so much I was clinging to that the 26th is really the day that I feel more than anything else. But then September 2nd, the very next Friday, is when I had my brokenness. And so those 3 dates for me just stick out all the time, the 23rd, the 26th, and the 2nd. And I even had a conversation with the Lord this morning when I was doing my Bible study. I was like, God, I know this day, and I know this day even 15 years later, no matter how much I prepare for it, it still just stings. It's just, you wake up and you see August 23rd and it's just a zinger, it's just frustrating because it's like, this is the day. But then I heard, I know that you're going to laugh, but those silly sayings, sorry, that sounded weird. The saying on Easter where they say it's Friday, but Monday's coming.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
That's silly.
Sorry, you know what I meant. I mean, we hear it all the time in our circles. You may be new to that, but that's the day Jesus died, and then on Friday, and then Monday's coming is his resurrection. Sorry, Sunday's coming.
Yeah.
I think I said Monday a while ago too. Sorry, Sunday's coming, and that's the day of his resurrection. And just kind of when I was spending my time with the Lord this morning, I just heard him whisper that, the 23rd and the 26th. But the 2nd is coming. Like this is what we went through, but the gloriousness of September 2nd was just such a powerful one for me. So when you specifically ask about the 23rd, not ignoring all of those other emotions and feelings that I've had about the 26th and the 2nd, but the 23rd, when I think back on it about how we addressed those first few years, I think right at first we just didn't know how. It was like, because I didn't want to, say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I did it, and throw all of this on you. And then you be like, hey, I was doing fine until you said all that, And so I think that's a dance of knowing what to say and when to say it. But I sure enough had to acknowledge it. And so even when I saw you this morning at church, like I said, you left before I did, and I came in church and I just said, look at my eyes. I love you. And I'm so sorry. Like I wanted to acknowledge it, and say, I mean, you deserve for me to say, like, I'm acknowledging that I caused this hurt 15 years ago. But then you also don't want to give it too much glory because of how far we have come and how this day is just instead of marking pain, it marks redemption for us. So,
well, you kind of started talking about this a little bit, but I think when people think about a lot of people call it D-Day, which is Discovery Day, and we don't use that term very often.
That's what that meant,
but that's what I think that's what people mean by that. Discovery.
Isn't there a D-Day in our world?
Yeah,
that's
there is in history.
Okay, but it's not that.
No,
it's
D-Day is not August the 23rd for the rest of the world.
I know.
No, but I think when people talk about a marriage story that has a D-Day, a discovery, a confession in it,
confession day.
It's always the anniversary. It's always in, this is going to be really hard, and it's always a reflection of the person that's been betrayed. Like that's what, like I don't know that anybody thinks about, I bet this is hard for you.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I mean, there's good reason for that because, for me, it was like that day. The reason why the 23rd sticks out is because that's when life changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I found out more, and the 26th was in the grand scheme of things probably a lot bigger, hearing more and more and more. But the 23rd, like that started the ball rolling.
Sure.
And that was like the death of the marriage that I
Sure.
thought we had.
Yeah. And when I look at it, I can see why that day was so
Yeah.
much harder than the rest, because it was the day everything blew up.
Right.
Yes, there was more to come, but for you, that was the first, just the first little inkling that something was wrong.
But for you, thinking back on those anniversaries, there was it was painful for you too. But how were you able to handle that? Because you couldn't deflect the pain away from me and bring up that it was painful for you too. Like,
sure. And I still don't.
Right.
I still don't.
And that's kind of, yeah. So like, how do you handle that? And how do you handle that internally, knowing that day's hard for you, but nobody
wants to hear it. And actually what's crazy is I've texted 2 people today about that. And I just said, hey, this is a hard day. It was confession 15 years ago. No matter how hard I prepare, it is always gutting. And we all just pray for me. And it was just 2 people. And I know those 2 people love me so much that they're not going to look at me and go, well, you're the one that caused it, you moron.
Right.
They care about my heart and my soul and my health. And of course it's hard for you. Of course my attention has to be on you. But that's not something I trust with the world. I would never get on here and say, this is such a hard day for me. I just can't because that's how I deal with it, is I remember that my choices, my selfishness caused this. And instead of beating myself up, it is a chance for me to remember. And I thought it was so precious that our pastor this morning wasn't even talking about this.
That's right.
But our pastor this morning in his sermon used the Luke 7 reference where he talked about those who have been forgiven much, love much. And that's what I have to remind myself of. Like, this is not about me. It is not, my choices caused this. And so it is just something that I have to say, I did this, I caused this, but I have the opportunity to love much because of who I am in Christ and because of what I've been forgiven. So one of the things that being a believer and redemption causes you to live unselfishly. And so in that redemption, I have to remember to live unselfishly and to let this day be about you and not that it's any grand thing, but it is just remembering that I caused it. And so really my place is not to put it back on me. So it's therefore just reminding myself and being thankful. So it's replacing pain with gratitude across the board.
Well, and you said it's not a grand thing, and it's not. And especially after 15 years, but really it stopped being a thing, after the first couple of years. And I do think that there's people out there that they haven't moved past that. And it's still something that's very much circled on their calendar. And look, I completely understand that those memories and thoughts they're going to hit. It's just like when you have a loved one that dies. You don't forget about that. And you don't have a celebration either. It's just a weird,
Okay, I have to say this because our families, both of them do this. Y'all, maybe your family doesn't, but does anybody else's family, when it's an anniversary of somebody passing, or if it's that person's birthday, say, so and so would have been
yeah.
130 today.
And yeah, and the thing is, and like I get it, and there's also a little bit of it's acknowledging, and it's also, you know, keeping the memory of somebody alive, and that's honoring to them. But it's also, you don't re-grieve those things over and over, or you shouldn't. I mean,
But you know, we have to be really sensitive here because our new daughter-in-law, you know, she lost her mom when she was 17 years old, and this year was her 5th anniversary of her mom dying, and it is still
and
hard.
Those
and so I mean,
tragedies and things. Yes, of course.
I'm saying they're hard.
That's right.
But it's not like what you're saying is it's still not this huge grand event. And especially when God has done work of redemption and restoration.
But the reason why it's not a grand event is because you get to a place where you don't let it control you.
Right.
And you don't let it have power over you. And I even believe that you can get to a place where not even, because some of you are going, yeah, but for that one day, I need to let it. Why? You know, you don't have to. And I'm not putting anybody down, but where I know some of you are going, well, how long did it take? You know, was this a gradual thing, or did just all of a sudden on the 4th year you were like, well, we're tired of letting this bother us. And honestly, it had to have been a gradual thing.
Sure.
Because
it wasn't a light switch, for sure.
And I don't remember. Like, I don't remember when an anniversary hit. I literally remember one of the anniversaries. It hit, and I never thought about it. And about a week or 10 days later, I remember going, oh gosh, August 23rd has already passed. And can I please tell the Blacklist story?
Sure.
Okay. So we used to watch the show Blacklist. I know it's it's not, is it still on? It's not on. It's still on?
Like current?
Oh, no, it's not current, right? Who knows?
You look. Anyway, I mean, I'll look.
It's not important.
It is important. You keep talking.
Okay. You're going to distract me if you're over there on the phone. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So Blacklist, people know what the Blacklist is, okay? So the Blacklist is a television show, and there is a criminal. He's one of the world's most wanted. Reddington. He's one of the world's most wanted from the FBI list. But the FBI decides to work with him because he can deliver people on the FBI's most wanted list, okay? Anyway, that's not the part of this story. There's an FBI agent. It's a young man, and he has a fiance that is also in the FBI. And in one episode, one of the people on that list, on the FBI's most wanted list, ends up murdering his fiance. So it's obviously a very devastating and it's an awful episode. But at the very end of the episode, the doorbell rings. The FBI agent who was engaged to the lady that was murdered, he goes to the door, and there's a box on the front door. He picks up the box, and you know the dramatic music is playing, and he opens it up, and there's a letter. Well, there's a letter attached to it. So he starts reading the letter, and it's from Reddington. And Reddington is you know, basically giving his condolences and that he's sorry. And he makes a comment, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but he basically says, every day when you wake up, this is the first thing that you're going to think about, until one day it'll be the second thing that you think about. And of course, he opens up the box, and the really cool thing, sorry for the graphic, but it's the killer, it's his head in the box. Sorry, I said that was really cool. But anyway, but I just remember that has meant so much, just that line, because it's so true that, you know, time doesn't necessarily heal all wounds, but time has a way of, just like in that situation, it is the first thing that you think about every single day. But then you get to a point where you go, oh, wait, I woke up and it wasn't the first thing that I thought about. And then it becomes, I didn't even think about that today, or I didn't think about that at all this week. And I really believe that's where we got with our anniversary. It was just the healing had taken over and was so much more consuming and powerful than any of the pain and grief, that those days just didn't, like August 23rd, August 26th, it didn't really matter that much anymore. And so it became something that we didn't really think about. And I'll be very honest about this 15 years later, if we weren't forced to think about it because of our ministry, and like this is an important part of ministry, and like even making social media posts today about it, it's not about us. It's our way of going, hey, we see you, we hear you because we've walked in your shoes, but look where we are now. And so we force ourselves to have these memories, but they don't consume us. And I mean, really, I don't know that we would really think about it. I think probably what would happen if we weren't doing this regularly is it would be one of those things where 2 days from now, we're having to put the date on something and we go, oh, yeah. So it really is more of this is something that is no longer going to have any power. Now, does that mean that we forget about the pain? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It means that we're not still wounded by the pain. Yeah. And I think that there's a big difference in that. And so do you think that couples, no matter where they are in the timeline of things, do you think that couples should acknowledge their D-Day anniversary, or do you think that that gives power to the pain?
I think that you should acknowledge it, but you shouldn't give it power.
Okay.
I think like just what, and I'm not saying I did it perfectly. You may think you should have done something different, but I think how I addressed it this morning, like I know what today is. So you're acknowledging the hurt. I know what today is. I'm so sorry and I love you. I don't think I should have said, is there anything you want to talk about?
No.
You know, I mean, because that's giving it power. But acknowledging it is respectful to you that it happened. I did it. I'm sorry. And I love you.
And maybe early on there is leading up, especially to like the first one or maybe even the second one, the first couple of them. Maybe there's a discussion beforehand that you acknowledge that it's coming. Right. And you kind of give, hey, is there something that I can do? What are your expectations? Do you want to get out of here and go somewhere so that we're not, in our place where, confession happened or whatever? I mean, there may be some things. And so you can talk about it beforehand. But I think that just like what you said, it's the acknowledgement because it's a respect of, I know that this day could bring up some painful memories. And even to a point where you would say, and I'm not saying you should have done this at year 15, but somebody can say, because some of you might say, yeah, that's not good enough for my spouse. My spouse needs more than that. And that's okay, but it may be that your spouse just needs you to say, anything that I can do for you today, you just tell me.
And that can also be a question leading up to it. Like, if you don't want to just throw that out on that day, like the night before or a couple of nights before, is there anything that you need from me that I can do for you that day? It just, asking. So communication, shocker.
Yeah, exactly. So my challenge, and I'm the one, okay? So I have been, if you've been betrayed, I've been in your shoes. And I don't want anybody to think, oh, he's better than me, or, he's trying to control my feelings or tell me. I'm just telling you that it is possible to not let the pain of what happened continually over and over again, even if it's just once a year, have control and power over you. Don't give the enemy that satisfaction because you don't have to. And so the beautiful part of this story is that God's healing can literally, for us, he can make August 23rd just become August 23rd again. And that really is what it is. Today, like I said, I had to acknowledge it, but it was really, I'm now acknowledge it more for other people.
Sure.
And I don't feel I don't feel sadness today. I don't feel like, oh, there's this big weight on me and tomorrow I'll be better because the day's over. It just doesn't happen anymore. And I'm not about to let the enemy put me in a place where I have those thoughts and feelings and memories again, because they're terrible. And I could very easily wake up on August the 23rd and go, well, here it is, and replay it over and over in my mind and basically just say, this is my one day. I'm going to have a pity party.
Pull your sheets over your head, your covers.
There's no way. There's no way I'm doing that. And so what do I do about it? I make sure that the story is on redemption. It's not a story of what happened on August the 23rd. It's what happened every day after that. Right. And so this morning, what a perfect way to do life. We got up. I got to lead worship at church this morning. You were there. Our family was there, and went to lunch, came back. We're recording a podcast. I mean, I'll be doing men's mentoring group tonight, like all of these things. And it's like, what do I have to be sad about today? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So hey, for those of you that are dealing with this, we understand and we're praying for you.
Yep.
But we also don't want you to stay stuck there. Don't stay stuck there.
Life is too pretty.
Yep.
And life is too beautiful, and redemption is too powerful to stay there.
That's right.
Yep.
All right. Hey, thanks for listening. Go over to YouTube, subscribe.
Yes.
And we'll see you soon. Peace.